Good evening and welcome to the Top 25 Rundown presented by the Sportscast. Today is March 1st, 2023. If you haven't yet, please subscribe on all your channels: YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, and Apple Podcasts. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating and review. It'll help us out tremendously. You can listen to us on your smart speaker, play Sportscast. Visit us on the sportscast.net. Also follow us on Twitter at the Sportscast1. Check out our app, the Sportscast, in the iOS App Store. Hello, my name is Alan West, and welcome to the Top 25 Rundown. I am joined from Las Vegas by Nicholas Hodel, senior at the Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, Arizona State, 2023. He's the host and writer for College Basketball Bonanza on Blaze Radio ASU, also editor-in-chief and writer at Inferno Intel, writer at Sports Cronkite, formerly at 98.7, Arizona sports writer and content producer. How you doing, Nick?
Doing all right, man. This has been quite the aspiration that is really taking place over here for me to get to Las Vegas in March, but it's been a good first day so far. I'm happy to be on to talk some more college hoops with you guys.
Awesome, that's great. Also, I'm joined by Bob Alves, high school sports commentator, public address announcer, host of Sports Buffet, and multiple other jobs and activities. Bob, always a pleasure. How are you doing, sir?
As long as my multiple jobs do not include selling myself, I think I'll be okay.
Well, you know what? Well, let's hope that goes for everybody here, bud.
I agree.
Well, gentlemen, we made it to March, and you know what's coming up? The big tournament, but until then, we got the little tourneys starting out. So I don't know if you guys are watching any, although Nick, why don't you tell us what you were able to do this morning or do earlier today?
Yeah, so my main assignment this week for Arizona PBS Cronkite News is covering ASU and Arizona in the Pac-12 women's basketball tournament, and Arizona State 12th seed. They almost pulled off a miracle. Down 19 middle of the third quarter against UCLA, came all the way back, had a lead in regulation, went to overtime, and UCLA found their shooting stroke after going cold again in the second half. But I really thought ASU was about to pull it off. I mean, down 19 and to take a lead in regulation. I just have to tip my cap off to first-year coach Natasha Adair for really inspiring that team to just keep on pushing, keep fighting, to just try and work themselves back to that game. And they really did that. And it was a really impressive manner. And overtime didn't quite go near the way I think they would have hoped it would have wanted, before a team that has had a lot of injury problems all throughout the season, really from December onward. You can only imagine that this is the absolute floor for the Arizona State women's basketball program. And perhaps in 2023-24, they really start to once again hit its stride and try and get back up to the upper echelon of what many consider to be the best women's basketball conference in the country.
That is very true, and that's awesome you were able to do that. And so we will definitely hit more on women's basketball a little bit later. Before we go into the tournament picks, Bob, we lost a sports legend in the college basketball world this week.
Yeah, Virginia basketball coach Terry Holland. I mean, a lot of people might say he underachieved, but I mean, anybody that can bring Ralph Sampson to the University of Virginia, coached a lot of great players like Brian Stitt and so many others. Coach Holland will be missed. He also coached at Davidson and was later the athletic director at Davidson, did some color commentary for ESPN. So Coach Holland will be missed for sure.
Absolutely. And well, gentlemen, we were taking a look, and there are 32 of the main tournaments that are going to happen. I was looking at a few of the different ones, and do you want to just start at the beginning and work our way down? Because I was for some of my picks, I mean, when I was looking at the website, they had a lot of different ones to choose from. Although some of these are going to be gimmies, whereas the ones I'm more curious about, that I think that we'll be able to talk more in depth or like the Power Five conferences for one. For the Atlantic, the A Sun Conference, I picked Liberty to win that tournament.
Yeah,
I've been watching them this year. Mhm.
Liberty is one of those teams that is just really, really good with a player like Darius McGee. I love this guy. He is an absolute baller on the court. He's got the veteran leadership for the Liberty Flames. And it's not the first time, not even close, that we've really heard this name really within the big time. Led Liberty to the tournament in 2021, where Liberty got knocked out first round against Oklahoma State, but he had a really good ASUN tournament in that particular year as well. And he just keeps continuing to find a way to make himself better. And against Bowerman in the first round, the ASUN tournament had 29 points on a 9 of 14 performance from deep. He just continues to be this guy. He's the best player in the A-10 for my money. And though Liberty is not the 1 seed, they're going to go into Kennesaw State after really a tremendous 4-year turnaround for that program. Liberty, I think, is still the team to beat.
I live in Lynchburg. I got to pick Liberty. I could get evicted.
That is true, Bob. That is true. But let's see. For the Sun Belt, I looked in. I am picking the 1 seed Southern Miss. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, Southern Miss is one of those teams that has really proven itself, but really they actually kind of got a little bit fortunate. I think Marshall is a team to really keep an eye on. If Marshall hadn't lost at Old Dominion on the final day of the Sun Belt regular season, Marshall would be in that position, given a head-to-head win against Southern Miss earlier in the year, and that was not very, very close whatsoever. But another mostly veteran leadership group, a couple of big primary seniors in Andrew Taylor and Tavion Kinsey. So the Marshall team here that is a really balanced team. They love to run it fast, and I certainly think that if Marshall does get into the tournament, they're going to have a pretty decent seed, and they may cause a problem in the first round. Definitely a team I would love to see get that opportunity by winning the Sun Belt tournament.
Okay.
I'm not going to go with you guys, even though Marshall does kind of pull at me a little bit. But I'm going to go James Madison to throw the upset against Southern Miss, presuming they get by Troy or Arkansas State. So I'm going to go JMU.
Okay. For the Horizon League, I'm going to go and I'm going to pick the what's your pick for the Horizon League, Nick?
Yeah, the Horizon League is one of those conferences where it's kind of it's a mosh pit amongst the regular season standings. Georgetown State won the regular season, had 3 more teams at 14-6, and they're all sort of around each other as far as analytical stuff is concerned. I do like Youngstown State's offense quite a bit. You just look up and down the numbers at some of the shooting percentages, the free throw percentage. They are near the top of the country in a lot of these particular offensive categories. The only thing that really worries me for Youngstown State is if the Penguins have an off night offensively, because they can easily get caught out by a team like a Northern Kentucky who has a bit better of a defensive profile to them. But as long as Youngstown State keeps finding its rhythm offensively throughout the Horizon League tournament, I think the Penguins should be in good shape.
Give me Cleveland State.
Cleveland State? Okay. Now, the conference that Liberty used to be in, the Big South, I am picking UNC Asheville this year.
Yeah, that's what I am going to have to agree on there. The UNC Asheville dominated the conference this year. It was a 4-game gap in the regular season standings between UNC Asheville and then Longwood and Radford. But this is a team that they are so hot. They started off the Big South regular season 1-1, ended up 16-2. So you get a team that's won 50 in the last 16, really good three-point shooting team. A lot of pressure on the Bulldogs, don't get me wrong, but I like the makeup of that team.
You know, Radford has made news for the wrong reasons recently with Darius Nichols getting suspended for a DUI. His brother Shane is the head coach up until I think Darius gets reinstated on March 6th. I had nothing to say about Radford with that, but give me Longwood.
Okay. All right. For the Patriot League, I'm picking Colgate.
Yeah, Colgate's the dominant force here. And if you thought UNC Asheville dominated the Big South, Colgate did it even better with a 6-game gap in the regular season standings. This is a team that is absolutely built for the moment. They are just as good of a three-point shooting team as anyone in the country, with the top percentage there. It's another veteran group of guys. Just a really, really strong team in the Patriot League. And I think Colgate will have no trouble wiping through the conference in the conference tournament.
I am making it a vow to go against what everybody else says. So if it gets down to me picking a 7 seed, that's going to be ugly to do. But I will go with Navy, the number 2 seed in this one.
Okay. In the Northeast Conference, I am going to go with the 2 seed Farley Dickinson.
Yeah, this is the Dayton Invitational. There is not a single team in the Northeast Conference that is inside the KenPom top 300. So you're talking about an absolute mess. And just to top it all off, Merrimack is still in their transitional period. So even though they're the 1 seed in the conference tournament, they cannot make the NCAA tournament this year. It's the final year of that transitional period for Merrimack. But their defense is really, really strong. They're really the exact opposite of Fairleigh Dickinson. Horrid offense analytically, really good defense as far as the analytics. And the defense analytically, it's not even close. It's seriously like it's miles and miles beyond anyone in the Northeast Conference. But if there is a team that can have a shot to crack it, it is Fairleigh Dickinson. So I look at this two-part approach. I think Merrimack does win this conference tournament, but I do think Fairleigh Dickinson's going to go to the NCAA tournament.
Give me the red flash of St. Francis.
All right. For the Ohio Valley Conference, I'm going to pick the number 1 seed Morehead State.
Yeah, this is the program Morehead State that I thought was the most well-equipped to take over as a premier program of the OVC after Belmont and Murray State left the conference. And they've really proven that. Not quite as great analytically, but a slower tempo within a conference that has a lot of faster tempo teams. I think Morehead State just try to control the game. I think that's the biggest thing for them. They get that advantage going straight to the semifinals of the OVC tournament, and that'll definitely help them out. I like Morehead State as well.
You know, Lee Corso uses the number 2 pencil to pick winners. I believe you go with a mechanical pencil, and then you really get into some winners. Tennessee Tech is my pick for no logical reason other than it's against you guys.
Hey, we'll take it. Going into the Missouri Valley Conference, I am going to pick the number 1 seed Bradley.
I'm going Drake here. Both of these teams are very, very similar to each other. Drake was going in. They were on some absolute fine form until they lost to Bradley on the last day of the regular season. But I think when you look at these two teams in particular, Drake and Bradley, if I were to match these two teams up against each other, I would take Drake because of the free throw shooting. It's a massive advantage. Drake is one of the better free throw shooting teams in the entire country at this particular point. And you look at a team like Bradley, you're talking about an 11 percentage point difference. That's a huge difference on the free throw shooting side of things. And when I look at this particular league with those two teams, very similar profiles. I like the free throw shooting at Drake. I like Tucker DeFreeze as well, the conference player of the year.
I love Arch Madness, to be honest with you. I used to love watching the Missouri Valley Conference tournament when it came on the regional sports networks. I'm not going to say I got hooked, but it was pretty close to addictive. And with that being said, I don't see how you can pick anyone other than the Salukis of Southern Illinois, the number 3 seed.
Okay. Now we get to a fun conference, the West Coast Conference. I'm going to pick Gonzaga.
Yeah, I think it's one of those deals where Gonzaga and St. Mary's have proven that they are heads and shoulders above everyone else in the league. I think Gonzaga has a really, really slim talent edge on a neutral floor. But I mean, it would not be surprising me if St. Mary's won this over Gonzaga. But I'm going to take the Zags, but it is really, really tight. I mean, if that's the final matchup, that is going to be an absolute treat.
It will be a treat when St. Mary's comes away with the WCC title, the number 1 seed. I think they get it done.
Like Nick says, I reserve the right if St. Mary's does win, but I believe that if they do get that matchup, that's going to be a heck of a matchup because the first two they've had this year have been some of the best in WCC. So I'll be like Bob, I will root for them to make it to the final so we watch them have another huge game, but we'll see what happens.
I'm either going to look like a genius or a complete fool with this whole thing. It's one of the two choices.
You know what? Join the club, sir. But we will see what happens. Let's go and take a look at the CAA, the Colonial Athletic Association. I'm going to go with number 2 seed, College of Charleston.
Yeah, I think this is one where Charleston has a lot more pressure than the 1 seed of Hofstra. I still do like Charleston. With that being said, this is a team that they're going to be a really unfortunate victim of just the way the whole selection process works if they don't win the conference tournament championship. But I like what Pat Kelsey has done there with that program. I think they'll find a way to get the job done. And it's just going to be a travesty. If Charleston goes to the final, doesn't win the final, we're going to be talking about a 30-4 mid-major team that doesn't get in my opinion. I don't think Charleston has enough from a resume standpoint, strength of schedule standpoint, but that's just part of it. At the mid-major level, we have no room for error. And I think everyone would love to see Charleston get a shot over a team like Wisconsin, myself included. But Charleston, I think they have to win the conference tournament championship, and I think they'll do that.
Great pick. I really wanted to pick Charleston, but we know the Alvis rule here is I can't do that when you guys pick them. Little background story on my pick. In 2001, I was at the NCAA tournament in Greensboro, North Carolina, when Hofstra lost to UCLA by 13 points with Jason Capono and Dad Ganzurek on the UCLA team. Hofstra gets revenge on a team not named UCLA as they run the table and win the tournament.
We will definitely see what happens. Next conference we have is the Southern Conference. I'll pick Furman.
Yeah, I think Furman does get the job done here. They have proven themselves offensively to be by far the best within this league. And Furman's one of those programs that has just they've knocked down the door in the Southern Conference in recent years, trying to break through. Last year it was the heartbreak of the buzzer beater in overtime against Chattanooga. But I do think they'll find a way this time out to get over the glass ceiling and get to the NCAA tournament.
Oh, this is a tough one for me. I really want to pick Furman, but as we know, I can't do that. So I'm going to go UNCG, the 3 seed.
Okay.
Really good defense, that UNCG team. Would not be surprising to me if it was Furman and UNCG in the final.
Definitely a good matchup. Going next, we have the Summit League, and I'm going to pick Oral Roberts.
Oral Roberts, the only team to run the table in the conference regular season schedule. And this is a team that absolutely 0 power conference teams want to face in the NCAA tournament, with proven veteran experience. Max Asmus, we know what he did for Oral Roberts 2 years ago for this program. And I think there's a lot of pressure on them, but I absolutely believe that Oral Roberts gets the job done. And they are absolutely capable of winning a game in the NCAA tournament. They are 100% capable of doing that.
I feel like Lee Corso's logic is, can a golden eagle beat a jackrabbit? And I don't think so in this case. So I've got to go with South Dakota State.
Okay. Definitely see how that goes. Going into the American East Conference, I'm going to pick UMass Lowell.
Yeah, to me, this is Vermont's conference. It's kind of always been their conference. With solid offensive profile. They started off really bad though, 2-2. They were 8-10 at one point. Since they've run the table, now 14-2 in the American East. And again, seniors galore on this team. This really does feel like a team that is built to win a conference tournament with veteran leadership and to find a way into the NCAA tournament. So much veteran leadership on this Vermont Catamount team. I really like to see that when it comes to picking these conference tournaments.
This is a tough one. Give me a moment to compose myself here. I am going to have to go with New Hampshire. I don't feel good about this one, nor do I feel good about any of the picks I've made. If anybody, is in that DraftKings type thing, first off, if you have a problem, call one of those numbers. Secondly, don't listen to me. Listen to Alan or Nick, but do not listen to me whatsoever.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I would probably put more money on Nick than on me, but you know what? I'm trying to make sure that come tournament time, I'm going to see what happens according to the March Madness app when it gets to this. But jumping ahead to the Big Sky Conference, I'm going to pick Eastern Washington.
I like Eastern Washington too, but I think their defense can get them off in the Big Sky tournament. I am still picking the Eagles. I still like the way this team has really come into form, but they've lost 2 in a row now. They are coming into the Big Sky tournament on a losing streak, and I think that can either A, motivate them, really get them into gear, and make them realize that, hey, we can't lose at this again, or we're done pretty much. Or it can kind of cost them. And I certainly think that Eastern Washington has a team like Montana State kind of riding up their butt and ready to get after them. But I do think Eastern Washington has a really solid team. They can shoot the ball inside really well, and I think that's where they're going to cause a lot of problems.
Montana from the 4 seed. They're going to throw some people in surprises. I don't know why, but I just truly believe in the Grizzlies.
Nothing wrong with that at all. The next conference we have is the Southland Conference, and I'm going to pick A&M Corpus Christi.
Yeah, I'm on this train very much as well. They're a team that still has a regular season game to go before everything is finalized. But the Islanders, they are a very, very solid team within the particular league. By the way, just unveiled their new logo earlier today, too. Really sharp-looking new branding for the Southland Conference. I was kind of caught off guard by that today, for sure, but I still like Corpus Christi here, and certainly a team that has a lot of really good seniors that can really make an impact.
Well, there's one other team in the conference that's got over 20 wins. That's Northwestern State. Give me the Demons.
Very nice. Now we have the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to pick Stephen F. Austin.
I'm going to go with Sam Houston State. I think their defense is just a tad better than a team like a Utah Valley here. And I certainly think that when it comes time for Sam Houston to really get things in gear, again, a lot of senior leadership once again on this particular team. But Sam Houston State, they got the defensive analytical profile I like to see out of a major school. They can shoot the 3 really well, around 39%, just shy of that for the season. Do the Bearcats find a way to get the job done here?
Give me an upset with the Seattle Redhawks. Seattle U.
Also a team with a really good defense, that Seattle team. So that'll be interesting to see how that one plays out.
Did you hear what Nick said? He said, good pick. He said, good pick.
That's one of those sleeper picks that if I were going to try and make things chaotic within my picks, man, that's not a bad one. for sure. I mean, that defense can definitely be of interest to some.
Bob, you know what that means, right?
They're going to win the whole thing. They're going to win March Madness. Forget about these top ranked teams. Seattle's going to get on that ladder and cut down the Nets.
We will see what happens, but it means that no matter what, even if your picks do go sideways, you got Nick's vote of approval for at least one of them. So you did something right, sir. Congratulations for that.
First thing I did right today. Good job for me.
I'm not getting in trouble for that comment, but moving on, let's hit the Atlantic 10 conference. I'm going to pick VCU.
Yeah, I'm also on the VCU train. Really, really good defense. And about the only team I trust out of the A10. This is a league that is going to be a one-bid league for the first time in 17 years. So we're talking about a lot of history just being lost here in this particular season, but the conference has just not been as good as it is. There's usually a case where there's one team that can be an at-large and the A10 tournament goes bonkers and there's a bid steal situation. That cannot happen here. No one has the resume, but I think VCU has the better chance of going to the NCAA tournament with a A10 tournament championship.
I'm trying to go like with a deep sleeper here, but I just can't do it. So I've got to go with Fordham.
Okay. Well, Bob, it's your favorite conference, the Atlantic Coast Conference. I'm going to go with Virginia. I'm going to pick UVA on this one.
This conference is absolutely wide open. It is pandemonium of the absolute finest. And I certainly think Virginia's a good shot as well. I also think Duke, with the way it is playing over the course of the last several weeks, is also a serious contender for an ACC tournament championship. I really want to see what they do at North Carolina on Saturday before I really try to cement anything with Duke. But that is a game I will absolutely be watching. I think that can really determine just how good Duke is going into the ACC tournament. And I think that might really determine quite a bit of people's conference tournament picks within the ACC. But I like the way Duke's been looking at the moment, but I think they still have something to prove to me.
So the ACC tournament starts on Tuesday. I'll be there for the first 3 games, which is kind of the opening round equivalent of the NCAA tournament. Then on Wednesday, you've got the teams. So you've got the ACC tournament, as you know, that you have a bye, and then you can get the double bye. The ACC, to me, screams Greensboro, North Carolina. But what does not scream the ACC to me is Miami, because they were not one of the originals. But they're going to win the ACC tournament. I'm going Hurricanes.
I really like that Miami backcourt, what they've done through keeping Isaiah Long, adding in a player like Nigel Pack. He has been out for a little bit of time, and I think Nigel Pack's absence can definitely sort of explain why they couldn't hold on to a 25-point lead against Florida State. But again, that's kind of what the ACC's been. It's been a lot of chaos. And I really think this conference has a chance to provide pure chaos in the conference tournament. Certainly looking forward to it.
I was super tempted to go North Carolina. I really was. For no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, but because you're a Duke fan, I know that would have hurt too much. So
I would have had to
appreciate
take like
you
10
off of the
showers
team.
tonight.
Well, we're going to go for the next conference where it's going to be mostly evenly matched, the Big Ten, and I'm picking Purdue.
Purdue is the only team I trust in the Big Ten. The only team I trust. They have somewhat established that they are the best in the conference, so they certainly established within the regular season standings. They have struggled as of late, leading me to believe that they are not a team that's going to go to the Final Four. And then after them, you have just it's chaos. It is mass chaos. Everything is still at stake in the Big Ten regular season. There's double buys, all on the line. And I mean, I certainly think Purdue is that clear-cut team, but you look at the regular season standings here, 2, 4, 6, there's like 8 teams within a game of second place. It is absolute madness. And this whole conference to me screams first and second round exits galore outside of Purdue, who I still believe is a solid second weekend team. I just don't think they're going to have enough with the freshman backcourt duo of Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith. I don't think they'll be able to sustain it long enough to get to the Final Four. I still think Purdue's a good team. I just think that within the grand scheme of national championship contenders and all this stuff, they're probably just sitting on the outside looking at that conversation right now.
I agree with everything Nick said, that the only trustworthy team is probably Purdue. Had you told me, though, a few years back that we would be talking about Northwestern with a chance to win the Big Ten tournament, I would have called you crazy. Call me crazy. Northwestern.
Yeah, I keep my fingers crossed for that. Next
Coached
conference
by a
we-
former Dookie, by the way. Chris
Oh,
Collins.
really?
Yep.
That's right. All right, so we got the Big West Conference next with, I'm going to pick UC Santa Barbara.
Yeah, this is the battle of the UC schools here. Like you mentioned, UC Irvine, UC Santa Barbara, UC Riverside. They're all 13-5 in the conference going into the final week of the regular season there. I think UC Irvine just has a little bit more to really add on to themselves. It's a little more balanced to where some teams have been really good defensively in conference play, but have been average to below average on the other side of the ball within conference play. UC Irvine has had the most balance, I think, on both sides of the ball in the Big West. But I like UC Irvine there. They do get UC Riverside on Thursday, and that's going to go a long way to determining who's in position for a number one seed in the Big West tournament come that final Saturday of the regular season there.
Okay, so refresh me who you all both took.
UC Irvine.
Yes, Irvine. I'm picking UC Santa Barbara.
Okay, UC Irvine, by the way, coached by Roanoke native Russell Turner, who went to Hampton-Sydney. Very tough for me not to break on this, but man, I'm going to go with an upset. I'm not going to go with a UC because that's the easy thing to do. Give me Cal State Fullerton.
Okay.
This is old school baseball tournaments we're picking, right?
If only, sir. If only.
I know.
Next conference we have is Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. I'm picking Iona.
This is absolutely Iona's conference. They are head and shoulders clear above everyone else. And I certainly think that Iona, should they get back to the NCAA tournament, they may have a hard time keeping Rick Pitino around. I think there's going to be a lot of schools wanting his services. So if Iona wants to seriously keep him, they really need to try and do it as soon as they can.
Yeah, Rick Pitino's name, I think, is going to come up for a lot of places, one of which is probably Notre Dame. But, I mean, you know, Rick is no youngster at this point, but he can still coach, that's for sure. With that being said, I have to go against Rick Pitino and give me the Bronx of Rider. I guess they couldn't keep the O.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. And Rick Pitino definitely is going to be a huge offseason storyline. Next conference we have is the Big 12. And like I was talking with Nick about last night, Kansas played Texas Tech, and it was the final home game for the seniors. They came back, and Texas Tech had a very big comeback in the fourth quarter, in the second half, and up until Kansas was able to put the game away in the final minute. The one thing I learned is if they had won, Texas Tech had beaten Kansas, it would have been Kansas's first loss in that weekend in 39 years. That being said,
certainly.
I'm still picking Kansas.
Yeah, I think Kansas is and should be the favorite for the national championship at the point they're playing. They've had a couple of scares as of late. The West Virginia game this past Saturday, and then the Texas Tech game last night. What I really liked about that game for Kansas, the way they closed that sucker out. The last minute, Kevin McCullough was making some really good plays, and then one of the final major Kansas possessions, Texas Tech clearly in a position where they have to foul. The ball movement from one end of the court to the other to make it a 5-point game was one of the most beautiful ball movement sequences in that situation I have seen. Just fluid, pass, easy basket. That is the kind of fluidity and chemistry that this Kansas team has that really makes me believe they are the national championship favorite, let alone Big 12 tournament favorites. It's all about Jalen Wilson, yes, but when you get DeJuan Harris going, Kevin McCullough, you get Grady Dick going in particular, I like this team an awful lot. And they have guys like Joseph Yezefu who can come off the bench and do a really good job as well. To me, they're one of the ultimate packages in college basketball right now. I like Kansas for the conference, and right now, if I had to choose a national champion, it would be Kansas.
You know, I think when Texas lost Chris Beard to his own discretion, his own foolishness, maybe you could say, Rodney Terry gets thrown in. And I think a lot of people might have said, who is Rodney Terry? Rodney Terry to go 15-6 with that group to me and be a top 10 team in the country. Give me the Longhorns. Hook 'em.
Yeah, if Texas does not keep him, I think that's a mistake. Now, that being said, how he recruits and stuff like that, something that you would have to see, but you have to really try to keep him around. And just on the topic of Texas, currently trailing TCU by 7 within the final 3 minutes of that at TCU. So that would give Kansas an outright Big 12 regular season championship. So that is when we will definitely be keeping tabs on, as I've got that on the hotel room here at the New York and Las Vegas.
Wow. Nick threw out, like, he name dropped like 4. He name dropped a hotel. He name dropped a town. Man, Nick is my hero.
I mean, I can't beat that, although I definitely want to see if Kansas can do that, because did you see that stat that they talked about for Kansas for the how many Big 12 regular season championships they've won compared to every other school?
I mean, it's something ridiculous. I don't know the exact number, but the perennial program, the Big 12, and they're going to remain that way under Bill Self for quite a while, I have a feeling.
Yeah, it said that they had won 19, whereas no other school had won more than 3. So that was something that was a little bit of a surprise when I read that last night. Moving on, let's jump into the Big East Conference. I'm going to pick Marquette.
I like Xavier a little bit here. I've always liked Xavier's core ever since their run last year to the NIT championship. I really like this Xavier core. With guys like Zach Freemantle, they've added Sully Blum to the mix, Jack Nunge, Adam Kunkel, really, once again, veteran leadership group. They can shoot the ball really well when they're on. Their defense is serviceable. And I think that Marquette, they cause a lot of havoc. I certainly think they're under a lot of pressure. I mean, Shaka Smart is doing some incredible things there. And I think the Big East tournament's going to be one where I don't think the 1 seed's going to win that. I think it's going to be I think Xavier is certainly a good option and one of my preferred options. I think Creighton is playing really well at the right time right now. And I mean, crazy or not, Villanova's been really sneaking their way back into a conversation, not for an at-large, but on the terms of they're really good again. They might be able to make something happen. They shoot free throws at an elite level nationally, best in the country, around 83%. I think this Big East tournament's going to go a lot of ways. I'm going to take Xavier, but I could see about 3 or 4 different teams winning this, and I wouldn't be surprised. It's just one of those leagues.
Well, I know who I'm not going to go with. I'm not going to go with an alum that's coaching his school and only has like 1 conference win, I believe. Not going with them. but I will go with Providence. Ed Cooley, I don't think gets enough credit for what he's done up there. Second winningest coach all time at Providence, and that is ahead of people like Rick Pitino, Rick Barnes, Pete Gillen. Granted, they didn't stay as long as Cooley has. Cooley's been there for 12 years at this point right now. Give me Providence.
Very nice. Jumping into the Conference USA, I'm going to pick Florida Atlantic.
FAU is another one of those teams. Like Charleston, there's a lot of pressure on them within this conference tournament. And they have two really interesting road games at Rice, at Louisiana Tech. And I know we're going to talk all the bracketology stuff a little bit later on, but FAU has been really hailed as, the mid-major levels at-large team. Lenardi has them as a 10. I would be very curious to see what happens to FAU if they lose a game this week. It would likely make the CUSA tournament a must-win situation for the Owls. I think they'll do it regardless. Really solid offense and defense. Well, this is one of the better teams that Conference USA has put out in quite some time, with almost the entire core back from last year's team. And I know we talked a little bit about Rick Pitino and how some programs might offer for his services. Dusty May is another one of those. I think Dusty May has a good shot to be at another program at the Power Conference level come next season. He has done an absolute wonderful job with that FAU program over the last 3 years in particular. And FAU's never seen a season like this before. It's an absolute incredible achievement for FAU. I think they'll get in as conference tournament champs.
One of the teams that beat FAU in the regular season is lurking, and they don't even have 20 wins. But Mid-Tennessee State, just because I know one of their women's assistant basketball coaches, give me Mid-Tennessee State.
Certainly an intriguing one there. And with this conference, this is one of the better conferences at the top that you got this particular conference ever put out. North Texas, UAB are both in the KenPom top 60. North Texas, one of the slower teams in the entire country. And this is certainly a situation to where, yes, FAU, I think, should be the favorites. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost. Honestly, I think North Texas can go in there, control a game, and try to knock off FAU. Still taking the Owls, but there are three incredible teams out of this conference. And it's a shame that only one of those in the at-large position right now, because would love to see a team like North Texas get a crack.
Well, on the plus side, if they don't make it to the NCAA tournament, they should get a crack at the NIT, and that would make them have an even better shot just to, like you said, for next year, being able to strengthen how it's going to look for their team next year and just seeing how the players are going to gel. So I'll be curious to see about that. Let's go to the MEAC now, and I'm going to pick Norfolk State.
Yeah, they're certainly one of those teams. Really solid offense, that Norfolk State team here. Kind of doing a bit of a 360 there. North Carolina Central, they are a bit careless on the offensive side of the ball, and I think that is a Vegas Golden Knights goal. I can actually hear the goal horn going off right now because our hotel room is literally facing T-Mobile Arena. I have the view there, and that was the goal horn. I did not realize I would get to hear the goal horn in my hotel room. That is freaking amazing. But at North Carolina Central, back to the topic here, they've won their last 6. I think they're a team that, with a quality defense, can certainly make themselves a good opportunity to win the conference.
Give me Howard, the Bison.
Okay. That's another good pick. So for the Mountain West Conference, I'm going to go out on a limb and pick San Diego State.
The Mountain West tournament is one in which San Diego State typically has a firm grasp on. And when they are losing in the Mountain West Conference tournament, chances are it's in the final. This is not a team that's losing in the Mountain West Tournament final. This is a team that's winning it. Matt Bradley, Lamont Butler, Darian Trammell are three guys who I really like. And that's not even including guys like Nathan Mensah. I just really like the core of this San Diego State Aztec team. And I absolutely think that they're going to be a problem in the NCAA tournament as well. Definitely a team I'm keeping an eye on.
I got to go with the school from the biggest little city in the world, Reno, Nevada. Give me the Wolfpack.
Nice. Well, Nick, it's come to that time where we get to talk about your favorite conference. And being that it is the Pac-12, I am going to go out on a limb for my pick, and I am going to pick the Sun Devils.
I mean, trust me, I think ASU should be a tournament team. And that buzzer beater on Saturday was it was unbelievable. I mean, there's no other words I could say to describe it. They're a team that if they don't get the bye in the Pac-12 tournament, they scare me because they're a team that plays up and down the competition like absolute craziness. And if ASU falls to the 6, has to play Oregon State in Vegas, it really would not be surprising me if that was a struggle for some reason. It should not be a struggle, but yet it always seems to be for Arizona State. I don't get it. But I think they're a team that needs to get to the Pac-12 semifinals to feel safe. When they do get there, though, I think they're going to fall victim to a team like UCLA. And I think UCLA is the most well-equipped to walk out of T-Mobile Arena next Saturday night as Pac-12 tournament champions.
I'll tell you what, Tommy Lloyd has done a phenomenal job his first couple years in Arizona. That does not change in the Pac-12 tournament. Give me Arizona.
Very nice. And while we're on the Pac-12, I also want to congratulate Mick Cronin and the UCLA Bruins for winning the regular season title. First time they had won that since 2017, I believe. I'd seen that. And, well, the one conference that right now is having more fun than anyone, the SEC, the Southeastern Conference. While, go ahead.
Yeah, in the SEC, it's been an interesting conference to watch. I think Alabama should be by far the favorite. I am nowhere near a fan of what's happened with the Brandon Miller saga. The things that they have done, which is continue to screw themselves and the public perception. I do not like what they're doing. But as a basketball team, I do like that Alabama team. And it's been really interesting. I mean, Texas A&M's had a fantastic SEC slate. And then Tennessee and Kentucky, I mean, 11-6. I mean, that's just, And Kentucky, I mean, losing to Vanderbilt at home is not good at all. I mean, Kentucky has had some very questionable losses this year. That is certainly up there. And that's one of those conferences where very similar to the Big Ten, actually. Alabama's the only team they can trust to win this tournament championship.
Yep, I'm picking Bama.
So I just need to make sure I'm understanding right. Nick hates everything that Alabama's done, but that is the pick from you, right, Nick?
It's the way they have treated that saga. I can't get behind it. And by the way, TCU has defeated Texas. Kansas is the outright Big 12 regular season champion. They have stormed the court in Fort Worth.
I'm going to go back to the SEC here. Texas A&M, Buzz Williams. Give me Buzz.
Fair enough. Former Virginia Tech coach, and congratulations to Bill Self on another Big 12, regular season title. He definitely is a heck of a coach over there. And let's go to the SWAC now, the Southwestern Athletic Conference. I'm going to pick Alcorn.
Yeah, this is certainly it's an interesting conference here Grambling State has one of the better adjusted defensive efficiencies that sort of as far as this particular conference goes within this year. I think they're a team at Grambling State. They are coming in to this last week in the regular season really hot. They've won their last 7 now. And I think they'll find a way to get the job done with the defense that, as far as some of the other individual statistics coming up really, really good.
So I've got to pick a team that's under 500 in the league. I hate doing that. But the Southern Jaguars have a pretty good band. I think if the band can translate to basketball, we've got some sweet music.
Very nice. Being a former musician myself, I can understand and respect that. Let's jump into the next conference, which is the American Athletic Conference. And I know this isn't going to be much of a surprise. I am picking Houston.
Yep, it's Houston. It's Houston. They are so far above everyone else. Memphis is there as that second team, but they're just not up to the Houston standard now. With that being said, Memphis next year, they're licking their chops when Houston goes to the Big 12, when Cincinnati goes to the Big 12. Memphis is sitting there just licking their chops. They're waiting their moment. They got to wait one more year, but I certainly think that Memphis is a program that is going to be due for that conference being theirs.
But you're picking the Cougs.
Yep, Houston.
Okay. Alan, did you know that my dad went to Memphis for 1 year?
I did not.
Did you know that I dislike Penny Hardaway with an unbridled passion?
I'm not surprised.
Give me Memphis. Let me tell you why I don't like Penny Hardaway. I think Penny Hardaway's playing career cannot be questioned. I think Penny Hardaway is probably one of the more underrated players in the NBA for that time frame. Penny Hardaway gave a donation to the Memphis Hall of Fame, which in turn made him a booster. They hired him as head coach, and he helped, I believe, pay James Wiseman's mother's rent. James Wiseman was the number 1 player in college basketball and was going to be a difference maker at the time. We only saw him for like 6 games because the NCAA suspended him, and then Memphis filed a suit against the NCAA. And, Wiseman played during that time. To me, that is sheer arrogance to file a suit against the whatever you think of the NCAA. They suspended him. So that's why I dislike Penny, but I'm still going Memphis just because I couldn't go with Houston.
Fair enough. Yes, I do remember that saga when that happened. All right, let's go to the Mid-American Conference. I'm going to pick Toledo. What do you got, Nick?
Toledo is a team that their defense is a major, major flaw. And their adjusted offensive efficiency is top 10 nationally. That defense sticks out like an eyesore to me. I'm going to go Kent State here. I think they got a player in Sincere Carey that everyone needs to know about. Just a really, really good player. And I think he'll be able to find a way to get Kent State over the hump. And I certainly think Kent State's defense is going to cause a lot of problems for the other teams in the Mid-American Conference.
When I was a kid growing up, I always shot basketball with my neighbor. He was an Ohio grad. Ohio is the 5th ranked seed, but the Bobcats are going to make some noise. The Shack of the Mac, Gary Trent, no longer there, but his spirit will reign on. Give me Ohio.
Hey, that'll work. Last but not least, gentlemen, we have made it to the final league, the Ivy League. I am going to pick Yale.
Yeah, this is going to be a really, really fascinating conference tournament to watch with Yale, Princeton, Penn, all right there with each other within the regular season. I think Yale is the more balanced team, a solid team in its own right, and I think Yale is going to be the one.
Princeton was almost the first 16 seed to beat a 1. Princeton is going to win the Ivy League tournament. I have made no picks that have made sense to this year. I will give you that. But Princeton, give me Princeton.
Very nice. And Looking at the men's basketball bracketology, I'm looking at on the bubble. We have the last four byes as Memphis, West Virginia, Nevada, and Auburn. The last four in, we have Mississippi State, Boise State, Wisconsin, and Arizona State. The first four out at the moment, we have North Carolina, Oklahoma State, Clemson, and Michigan. And the next four out, we have Utah State, Charleston, Penn State, and Texas Tech. Nick, I'm a little surprised about the first four out just because it has North Carolina and Clemson. Because wasn't Clemson when the last time you were on, I believe Clemson was leading the ACC at the time, memory serves.
Yeah. Well, what Clemson has done is really since then is they've lost a Q4 game at Louisville, a Q3 game at Boston College, not taking advantage of as nearly as many opportunities that they probably would have liked. They have shot themselves in the foot. I mean, there is no questioning that whatsoever. So they're going to find it really difficult, I think. Really interesting position that they're in there. North Carolina's main problem is quality wins. They have one. That's it, which makes it all so important for facing Duke at home on Saturday. That makes that oh so important for the North Carolina Tar Heels. That's almost a must win at this point for the Tar Heels to get that second Q1 at the bare minimum. Because when we talk a lot about the teams in the bubble, we're talking about teams with 3, 4, or even 5 of those top quadrant wins. And I think that's kind of what you have to have. And Wisconsin fits the bill perfectly. Analytically, they are not there. No, not there. But their strength of record is there. Their strength of schedule is really good. And they have 6 quad 1 wins. They're 6-6 in that quadrant, which is incredibly serviceable. Now, the Q1 opportunity Thursday, home against Purdue. With how Purdue is, it's not as improbable as it was, say, 3 weeks to 4 weeks ago. But it's certainly one that is interesting. The thing that really ticks me off about Wisconsin and why I am not on this Wisconsin train, 4 of their quadrant 1 wins came in the non-conference, which when the casuals are still watching football, I'm watching college basketball all the time. This matters oh so much because Wisconsin has a win at Marquette, neutral site against USC on the resume, home against Maryland, at Iowa. That was all in November and December. There are only 2 Q1s since then at Ohio State. Yeah, that's a quadrant 1 win, as much as no one likes to hear that anymore, that phrase, about as bad as Ohio State has been. I apologize for that. And then at Penn State as well, which Penn State also is a team, while they have been better than Ohio State significantly, they're still kind of on that same analytical radar point as being 60 in net for them. Ohio State 64th in net. And that basically has 5th and 6th Q1 wins for Wisconsin. And to me, they are quad 1 wins by all the technicalities. But really, for me, I mean, some of their Q2 wins are a little more impressive to me with what they've done in 2023. I mean, their win this past Wednesday, last week against Iowa at home. That's a really solid quadrant 2 win. That if that goes quadrant 1 with Iowa going the top 30 in net, that gives Wisconsin a 7th quadrant 1 win. So it's as much as I don't want another Big Ten team to get the benefit of the doubt in the bubble, Wisconsin has enough quality wins to do so. Certainly it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks, because obviously bid steal words can cause a whole other issue with the bubble. But certainly an interesting bubble, definitely on par with some of the bubbles in recent years as far as the intrigue factor is concerned here.
Fair enough. I do want to say one thing about Ohio State, even though there's no way that they're going to do much. They are on a 2-game winning streak in the Big Ten since they beat Illinois and then they beat Maryland tonight. And Maryland is ranked number 21. So
Yeah.
I agree that
today in college basketball, it was a wild day. But man, for Ohio State to go through such the losing streak that they did through January and February, to be able to get a 2-game winning streak like that and to be able to string together wins like that, that has to give them a lot of confidence, especially going to East Lansing on Saturday. And who knows, maybe they feel like they can make something happen in Chicago. I'm not expecting it, but with the way the Big Ten has been, who knows? Honestly, who knows?
very true. I'm definitely very curious to see that. And I mean, I have to admit I am an Ohio State homer, but the way that this year has been, I'll be surprised if Chris Holtman keeps his job at the end of the year, even with Tom Izzo's vote of confidence. Real quick, I just want to run through the AP Top 25. I've got Houston number 1, Alabama number 2, Kansas number 3, UCLA is number 4, Purdue's number 5, Marquette is number 6, Baylor is number 7, Arizona's number 8, Texas is number 9, Gonzaga is number 10, Kansas State's number 11, Tennessee's number 12, UVA's number 13, UConn's number 14, Indiana's number 15, Miami's number 16, St. Mary's is number 17, San Diego State's number 18, Xavier's number 19, Providence is number 20, Maryland's number 21, TCU's number 22, Kentucky's number 23, Texas A&M's number 24, and Pittsburgh's number 25. Now, even though we are going to see a few teams drop, it's definitely going to be very interesting even seeing the how the top 25 looks next week, just with those losses and then with the games this weekend. Are there any teams that you're predicting so far, Nick, that are going to make either a huge leap or a huge drop?
I certainly think that teams at this point in the year, with just the way the AP is, I mean, the teams at the top are just kind of like bunkered there. But really, to me, once March hits, the AP Top 25 just kind of becomes an obsolete measure of the sport, because now you're worried about conference tournament seedings. You're worried about all the analytics. You're worried about NCAA tournament seedings. And it's a big point to me that once March hits, I'm on conference tournaments almost immediately because of just what's at stake in all those tournaments. And these 2 weeks with all the conference tournaments are incredible television. And I certainly hope that people take the time, especially when the mid-major conference tournaments reach their finals this weekend. Watch one. Honestly, it's really riveting television to see these mid-majors battle it out for a conference's only bid to the big time.
So true, so true. And Bob, I want to make sure and ask this question, even though I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Are we picking North Carolina or are we picking Duke this weekend?
Do I really need to answer that?
For
There are
this,
two
yeah.
teams in this world that I cannot pick with good faith in my mind. Tar Heels and the Boston Red Sox. Anybody else? I can do. Those two, we're talking like 15 showers just to clean the must off of me. I can't do it.
All right, well, fair enough. Nick, who do you have, Duke or North Carolina?
I think Duke's going to go in there and find a way to take charge. It's going to be really difficult in Chapel Hill, but I think Duke's going to go in there and win that. And if North Carolina wins that at home, huge boost to the resume for North Carolina.
I'm going to bite the bullet and, well, I don't have to worry about that curse that Bob was talking about. I am going to pick North Carolina for the upset just because I got to have some parity after what we were talking about earlier.
Did I tell you, Alan, who I saw a few weeks ago at a Lynchburg College basketball game?
I believe you told me, but why don't you mention it to Nick? I believe he would appreciate that.
I was walking out, and I walked out right behind Hubert Davis, whose son plays for Lynchburg College here in Lynchburg. Or I'm sorry,
Wow.
Lynchburg University. Pardon me.
that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, I thought about asking him if he wanted a picture with me, but I think he's probably good.
Figured as much. Right now, I just want to take a look at the women's basketball bracketology. I see that the last four buys are Illinois, Miami, Kansas, and Purdue. The last four, and it says Marquette, St. John's, Princeton, and Syracuse. The first four out are Oregon, West Virginia, Nebraska, and Arkansas. The next four out are Washington, Kansas State, Rhode Island, and Michigan State. I don't know about both of you, but right now, I'm going to have a very hard time picking against South Carolina.
I'll tell you
'Cause
who gained some fans this weekend was Caitlin Clark out of Iowa.
yes, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, yeah, she was absolutely phenomenal for Iowa in that big time game. Absolutely phenomenal.
And the confidence level that she has is, to me, off the charts. I mean, she said, yeah, I knew I could make that shot. We practiced it all the time. I was going to hit that. I mean, you don't hear people normally say that. And a lot of people, I think, may say that's arrogance. No. That's confidence. And right now, when I look at the projection, Iowa is in the same region as South Carolina, which probably doesn't bode well for Iowa. But Iowa, man, they're not known for women's basketball, that's for sure. But Caitlin Clark, she's going to be the name that people remember.
I mean, I feel like for her, she reminds me of, I believe her name's Sabrina Ionescu. I think that's how you say it. Who plays in the WNBA now for the Liberty.
I compare her to like either an Adam Morrison or a Jimmer Fredette of men's variety from a few years back, because I think Adam Morrison's confidence especially was off the charts when he was at Gonzaga. I mean, and I don't say, when I say confidence off the charts, I'm not talking that these are arrogant people, but these are people that think they're going to make every shot. I mean, back in the heyday of the NBA, in my eyes, Larry Bird thought that he'd win every game. And I mean, he'd tell you. I mean, there's a story where Larry Bird said to Xavier McDaniels, Xavier, I'm going to catch the ball right here. I'm going to make this shot with the buzzer, at the buzzer. And he made the shot, and Larry's like, man, I didn't mean to leave that much time on the clock. And there was like 1 second left. Those are the type of people we need in basketball. I mean, I think when you hear, because so many people, I think, rub people the wrong way now. But I mean, when you have those type of characters, I think that's good for the game.
No doubt about it. All right, let me just like I said, we have South Carolina #1 right now, Indiana's #2, Utah's #3, LSU is #4, Maryland's #5, Stanford's #6, Iowa is #7, Virginia Tech's #8, UConn is #9, Notre Dame's #10, Villanova's #11, Texas is #12, Duke is #13, Ohio State's #14, Gonzaga's #15, Oklahoma's #16, Michigan's #17, North Carolina's #18, UCLA's #19, Colorado's #20, Arizona's #21, UNLV's #22, Iowa State's #23, Middle Tennessee State's #24, and South Florida's #25. And right now for women's basketball, it feels like there's South Carolina and then there's everybody else, just because this year, Aaliyah Boston, I'd say it's between her, Caitlin Clark, and who else would you say? Would you say the one player from UConn who has been injured a few times, not Paige Beckers, but Nick, do you know the person I'm talking about?
No, I don't, but I know Vegas just scored another goal.
I feel like
They
Nick's
scored-
going to try to go to sleep tonight, and the goal horn's going to go off.
I'm telling you, that thing is loud. If I can hear that sucker, that is a loud one. Holy moly.
Did they score 2 or 3 goals, Nick? Because I thought I heard it go off once before. And the
Yeah, I
player's
think
name
that's the
is Leah
second one. I
Edwards.
think that's the second one.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
Leah
I saw
Edwards is
people
the
lining
player's
up
name.
to go into the arena. And I figured it was a Golden Knights game, but I didn't realize the goal would be that loud. Holy moly.
On the bright side, you're never going to forget this trip to Vegas, which is a plus besides the basketball. So that's awesome. If we were going to try to get a hold of you outside of here, what would be the best way on social media to find you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Hodell Sports. That is HODELL Sports. I'm gonna be going crazy in March, but it's going to be a really fun time. So highly recommend you do that. You can follow Bonanza at College Bonanza. We're gonna have a nightly show starting tonight, recapping all of the conference tournament action as we really ramp up now to the best month of the year. So it's gonna be a busy month for me. I'm going to be doing a lot, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a really fulfilling month.
Absolutely. Bob, how would we get a hold of you?
Just stick your head out the window and yell. I'll hear you. It's like the goal horn. You can follow me on Twitter, The Sports Buffet, YouTube, The Sports Buffet. And just call somebody. I'm sure they know how to get a hold of me otherwise.
I appreciate that. And Nick, thank you for coming on again. And like you said, this is going to be a very busy month, but if it works out that we can get a hold of you for maybe a few minutes, hopefully more toward maybe the end of the tournament, more toward like around the Sweet 16, we'll try and do that. But either way, I hope that you get to have as much fun and enjoy this month as much as possible, college basketball wise. And well, it's been very good to have you on so that we can go through all of the tournaments. And Bob, you always make things fun as well. And we'll definitely be able to keep those picks, and we'll see who was right and how many I got wrong as well, because I'll be curious just to see how the end of the tournaments go. You can find me on Twitter, Alan F. West. I'm going to post on there sometime soon, and on Instagram at Alan.West.46. Thank you everyone for coming on. This has been the top 25 rundown. Have a great night, and let's see how this tournaments go.